Hi, I'm Brian Duncan, and this is the Little Neck Insider. Today I'm going to meet with local resident Marty Schildwachter. He lives on Hurds Cove and was instrumental in getting the neighborhood dredging project off the ground over 10 years ago. So we're going to sit down and talk with him and find out all about the program and how he got this launched for this neighborhood. Hi, Marty.
Hello.
Thanks for meeting with me today.
Yeah, good to see you.
Really appreciate it. So I wanted to meet with you because I know when I originally met you about 10 years ago, you mentioned the dredging project. And I think that's something a lot of our viewers and our listeners would be interested in. They're around the neighborhood and they want to know how this project got started and what to expect, going forward. So, but before we get into the dredging, I'm curious, how did you end up moving to Virginia Beach and when did you move here?
This is our third home. I was in the Navy, retired Navy, and we were here in the 70s and the 80s. And we built our dream home here we raised the home that was on this lot, and we built our dream home in 2001 and moved in January of 2002. So this is our third home in beautiful Virginia Beach.
Okay. All right. And so at that time, obviously it's on the water. At that time, could you take a boat out any time, or was
no
tide an issue?
No, it was. We were subject to the tides, and we knew that I was the prince of tides, so to speak, and we went out when we could, when there wasn't a southwest wind, and when the opportunity presented itself and the tide was right, we could get out.
And so, like, how deep was it at low tide at that point?
Mud flat.
So nothing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, pretty well. It could be a mud flat, or it could be like maybe a foot if you were lucky. And at the high tide, maybe 3 or 4 feet. If there was a northeast wind, you could. That was wonderful, and that would be like 4 or even 5 feet for like a nor'easter or something like that. Right.
Okay. So it was just kind of irregular. You couldn't
very irregular.
Couldn't really enjoy going
hit
out
or
on the
miss.
boat.
Right.
Gotcha. And so, where'd you get the idea of just dredging and seeing if you could, get out any time of day?
Well, I just was walking around the neighborhood and I said, why not? I mean, we're on the water and we could give it a shot. I don't know if it was possible or not. And I talked to several neighbors and they seemed interested in it. And so I was walking through and talking to the neighbors, and we figured, I talked to enough neighbors that maybe we could have some sort of a project that we would be able to do it on our own and get out to the city channel. But the more we thought about it, the harder it seemed to get, because you would have to get so many people's cooperation to get out there. And sure, you would have some people that would be generous enough to participate with you, but there would be an awful lot of free riders or people that maybe didn't have the money or didn't want to participate, honestly. But there would be a lot of people that would just be free riders, and you'd go ahead and do the job, spend a whole bunch of money, and then they would jump on and build their dock after you were finished. So somebody told me about the city program, the neighborhood dredging program it was called, and they had already done one big job in the western branch. And so that's when I contacted the city, and they told me the rules, told me how difficult it was going to be. And I said, well, okay, we got a shot, we got a chance, a slim chance, but we have a chance, because we had to get 80% of the people from basically my friend's house down there all the way out to the city channel. And we had to get what turned out to be 80 to 90 households in what turned out to be Hurds Cove to participate into this program. We had to get 80% of those people to participate in the program and get all the way out to the city channel. So it was quite a project.
And so as far as the areas though, obviously we've got Blair Circle, Hurds Road, and then on the other side we've got parts of Bishop's Gate, which is Audley Way and even Bishop's Gate Lane.
Yeah.
Are there any other areas that I left out that are part of Hurds Cove?
It goes all the way down, all the way down to Watergate.
Okay, parts of Kings Grant too.
Yeah, all the way, Watergate Lane. And
then over on Bray Road too?
And yes.
Okay.
And on Bray Road.
Yep.
And all the way out to the city channel.
Okay.
So, and then all sorts, there's a couple of little fingers going in on all the sides of, like into Bray and into on the left side here on the way out.
So once you heard from the city that you had to get, you said 80 or 90 homes to support the program.
Yeah.
How did you get started in contacting the owners and getting their approval?
I got some help. I went around and contacted some people that I knew that would help me with the program, and some that I contacted that I thought would help me with the program that ultimately didn't help me with the program. But so we got a little crew together, maybe 3 or 4 people, and 2 of them worked out, 2 did not work out. But
what year was that when you started gathering people?
That was like 2013 and 14.
Okay.
2013, 14. And basically walking up and down the street, contacting people, telephoning people, and telling them that we needed them to, or if they wanted to participate in the program, that we were going to have deep water and it'd be wonderful for their children and for their grandchildren and for property values, which was my big selling point.
Right.
We thought that would be really great for property values. The fact that it wasn't free, that we would have to pay for it, but the fact that it would be relatively easy once we got it done because it would be turnkey, that the city would handle all of the dredging, all the contracting, all the paperwork, all the engineering work that had to go into the design, the offloading, the removal of the waste, everything. So
and so where the cost work, from what I understand, is the city did all that work and they paid for it to get it done, right? But then the homeowners had a special tax rate that was spread out over 16 years, right?
Yes, the city was sort of front-ending the cost while we were, the city council actually approved, if we can talk about that now? Yeah. City council actually approved our program in January of 2015, and we started paying taxes in July of 2015.
Okay.
SSD tax assessed on so many pennies on the value of our existing tax.
Right. And so currently, I actually checked. So right now, property taxes in the city of Virginia Beach, you're paying, basically 97 cents per $100 of assessed value. So just for ballpark figures, if there's $1 million property around here, the annual taxes are in the ballpark of about $10,000. But with this special tax service district, with the dredging project, that rate is about $1.41 roughly per $100 of assessed value. So, it's about $14,000 per year. So a little bit higher. And then that goes on for 16 years. But you get all the dredging done. And then that includes, what does that include over that 16 years?
Well, you get, for me, it includes about 7,500 square feet, 7,500 square feet of deep water property. That's what it.
So they did the initial planning, permitting,
Oh yes,
engineering design.
That yes,
They did the initial dredging, but they have follow-up maintenance dredging.
Yeah,
right?
There's going to be a follow-up dredging of 1 and maybe 2 more times, but probably just 1 for the time being. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made now because it took a long time to get our program done, the dredging, from when they started collecting the taxes. When we finished the dredging, it's taken an awfully long time because there were a lot of impediments in the way. There were a lot of hurdles along the way.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time.
When did they actually do the first dredging here?
A year ago.
So 2015. So that took 10 years basically, or 9 years basically from when you started paying the tax to actually getting the dredge done.
Yeah.
What caused some of those delays?
There were people, believe it or not, oystermen were fighting it, even though in the river out here, this is fallow ground for oysters. There's more, and for some reason or other, the oystermen were fighting the program here, and we don't know why. And we actually went up to Richmond and had hearings. Went to Senate hearings and House of Delegate hearings, and I spoke at I think one of each at their committee meetings about our program, and it was. I just told them, what we were doing. I said, "There's no oysters out here, so I don't know why these gentlemen are fighting the program."
Right.
And we gave our honest opinion about it. And there were also some property owners that were fighting us. They had oyster leases that they got for really cheap going out into the river. And so the city had to figure out a way to put the channel around those bogus oyster leases to find their way around them.
Right.
And so that took time.
Yep.
Or in some cases, they had to, I don't know if they actually took the homeowners to court or not, but they fought them off and they were able to bulldoze their way through to be able to put in the city, design the city channel for our channel into Hurds Cove. But there were difficulties like that.
Yep.
To go around oyster leases, and that was a big one that caused a lot of delays. And then a huge one in the last couple of years was trying to find a place to dispose of the soil.
Right.
And that not only for us, but for the entire eastern branch. Believe it or not, and we thought that maybe the city should have thought about this longer and harder to get a decent place to dispose of the waste, because they had thought about a redredge of the eastern branch for a long, long time. And they needed it for navigation purposes and everything else. And they did not have a really decent place that they could. There were a couple that they considered, but they weren't doable. And there were political opposition to them doing it. Ultimately, they wound up, after years of research, going down to by Virginia Beach Boulevard at the very end of the river down there by Virginia Beach Boulevard.
Near Pep Boys, right?
By Pep Boys, right.
That's
across from Pep Boys.
Okay.
And there was a property there, and they basically told the owner that they had to sell. And I went to that city council meeting too, and I'm not sure of the details of it, but the owner and the city came to an agreement. The city bought the property, and they finally they built their transfer site, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started building the channel, dredging the channel from that location at the transfer site all the way up to where Hurds Cove is. That took a couple of months. And they kept going up to the eastern branch, and then they started in on Hurds Cove.
Wow. So now that the initial dredging is done, how deep is it here, and can you get out anytime you want?
Yeah, this is really low here. This is extraordinarily low.
And we still have the channel here.
But you could still get out. You'd have to be real careful going out.
Mm-hmm.
But you could still get out because it's 4 feet deep.
Yeah, well, that's great. And you said before it was nothing. It was all mud.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now
This would be mud right now.
Yeah, and now
So
you've got 4 feet.
It's 4 feet deep. And I will say this with the Hodges and Hodges, yeah. The dredge company that did this, they were great. They did a good job. They came back, and I insisted with the engineers at the city that they do good quality assurance,
Mm-hmm.
and they did. You could see that the engineering support company that was involved with this, they would come back with their boats, and they would take measurements at different spots.
Mm-hmm.
And they did, and Hodges and Hodges came back and did a little bit of rework here, there, and everywhere. Hit some low spots and high spots, and figured it out, fixed things up nicely. And I think everybody's pretty well happy with what they have now. Of course, my neighbor is an architect, and he was out with his yardstick measuring his particular driveway, his dock area, and but I think we're pretty well satisfied with the result.
Good.
Even though it's taken forever.
Well, I know. I mean, it's taken you over 10 years worth of work to get to this point, and I'm glad you're able to use it, pretty much anytime you want. Not just you, but all the neighbors that also benefited from this program. So let me shake your hand, Marty.
All right.
Appreciate all the work you did for the neighborhood, and there's no doubt that having a dredged channel here, everybody's going to benefit from that, from using a boat, and also increase their property values like you mentioned.
Yeah, I hope so.